I'm Bob Trask. Thank you for being with me. For more than 40 years, I taught consciousness in places around the world and help people find excellence in their lives. And today we're going to look at your extraordinariness. There are very few of us on this planet right now who are ready to die, knowing that we've achieved all we want to in life. Very few of us. We're not in that place yet. We haven't made our mark yet. You haven't made your mark yet? You haven't, and I haven't either. We've not been loved enough yet. We've not traveled enough yet. We've not danced enough yet, or sang enough, or laughed enough, not laughed nearly enough. So what's stopping us? What's stopping us from living that full, exuberant, incredible life filled with crescendos and diminuendos and different flutes and instruments in the great orchestras of our life? What's stopping us? Today I'm going to talk about exactly that. What's stopping us? And by the time I'm through, I'm hoping you'll know how to set yourself free and how to release all the wonderful abilities that are hidden inside you. Yeah, wonderful abilities that are hidden inside you. That may not make sense right now, but hang with me for a minute. For me and for you, it's going to take letting go of some things that we cherish in order to get to the things that we will cherish even more. And that'll take courage. That'll take some courage. Author Amos Nin said, "And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." Let's think about that for a minute. The day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud. You and I are both tight in buds. You might say, well, no, I've actually opened and flowered. You've opened and flowered as much as you have, but you haven't opened and flowered as much as you can. And neither have I. And she's saying when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk to blossom. And William Faulkner said, "You cannot swim for new horizons until you have the courage to lose sight of the shore." An author, poet, and activist, Veronica Tugaleva, said, "You never know who you are unless you shed who you pretend to be." Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm not pretending to be anybody. I'm me. I'm not pretending. Oh, yeah? Well, let's see. Because I know we can do this. I know that we can get into the next level of growth, into the next level of exuberance, into the next level of bliss, into the next level of ecstasy. I know we can become all that we came here to be. I know that we can do that. We do have these wonderful abilities that we've never expressed. Oh, I know. And the first question that a lot of people are going to ask is, what wonderful abilities are you talking about? They might even say, I'm doing quite well right now, thank you. I know my abilities and I'm using them daily. In answer to that, I'll say, you don't even have any idea how much more amazing you are. You've not experienced the depths of your genius. Not yet. And if that's so, what keeps those utility or those abilities and that genius hidden? What's keeping those abilities and genius hidden? What keeps it trapped inside of us so that we don't even know it's there? The answer to that is simply this: we each have a base of self-identity, have a base, a platform, a foundation, an overwhelming foundation of self-identity. And let's just call it our self-identity base. And from the time we were tiny, we learned what was acceptable and what was not acceptable in every area of life. And those lessons were not well defined, and they're still not well defined in our minds. We didn't just learn, for instance, not to use a swear word. We learned that expressing ourselves strongly in any way is not okay. Don't you start expressing yourself too strongly and people back off. Because you're getting outside of your comfort zone and you're asking them to get outside of their comfort zones, and we're just not going to do that. And those comfort zones, another word for that is identity, the identity base. So don't raise your voice. Don't talk too strongly. Don't talk too loudly. Don't talk too passionately. And when that happens, the walls go up and we learn to live inside of our walls. And it's not simply in communication. We learn that our family and our society expects us the way they want us to be, not who we are, but who they want to see. Will then have been defined by those pressures and soon forget who we really are. When we're always comfortable in life, it means we're securely inside our self-identity bases, doing what we're supposed to do. And you already know that growth only occurs when you risk discomfort. We already know that. You know that. I know that. Well, growth only occurs when we risk discomfort. When we challenge ourselves repeatedly, we discover that our discomfort is no big thing and that discomfort is not deadly. We can handle it. It's only a message that says we are moving in unfamiliar territory. But we must take that risk. Otherwise, we become trapped in safety and security inside self-identities that are paralyzing our ability to grow and to discover our truth, our eternal connection to all, to the forests, the rivers, the mountains, the eagles, the whales, the people, the children, the music, the musicians, the actors, the life. We connect to all of it if we just let ourselves go. So before we go forward, let's just take a moment and recognize that we are each here in these physical bodies, in this galaxy, each with a purpose. Not one of us is here by accident. We didn't just happen. We're each of us here on a divine mission. Each of us. And that mission is not a dark one, not laborious, not one of suffering. I wonder if you remember Aaron Ralston, Aron, Aaron Ralston. He's that guy who was mountaineering and alone, and he got his arm trapped under an 800-pound boulder. And he laid there for 5 days. And then he took out his dull pocket knife and cut his arm off. Now, that's a pretty extreme example of setting yourself free. And I only mention it to emphasize that, like Aaron, you and I have a deep passion to be free. And unlike Aaron, many of us will just not cut the ties to our old boulders. Aaron's got a message for us. Aaron said, so many people live within unhappy circumstances and yet still not take the initiative to change their situation because they're conditioned to a life of security, conformity, and conservatism, all of which may appear to give one peace of mind. But in reality, nothing is more damaging to the adventurous spirit within a man, within a woman, than a secure future. The very basic core of our living is our passion for adventure. The joy of life comes from our new experiences. And hence, there's no greater joy than to have an endlessly changing horizon, for each day to have a new and different sun. Does that sound exciting? to have the joyful life that comes from new experiences, to have endlessly changing horizon, and each day to have a new and different sun, and to live in joy, 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 excitement, and joy. Our mission here is to grow in wisdom and joy. That's what we came here for. Now, there's 108 billion people have been born so far on this planet, and there may be trillions more, who knows, but there'll never be another you, never was, never will be another you. You're the only one that sees what you see, hears what you hear, feels what you feel, tastes what you taste. You're the only one that can express that individual self. You're the only one that can be you. And your mission and my mission is to grow in wisdom and joy in our own unique and individual ways. Your mission, your reason for being here is to be free so you can grow in wisdom and joy. How's that going for you? Every living being from an earthworm to an eagle is evolving, is an evolving part of a divine consciousness. Like them, we're also here to evolve. For the earthworm, it may take hundreds of years to evolve. For us thinkers, our evolution is at hand. And so we can't allow ourselves to become trapped in an addiction to comfort. And eventually that becomes who we think we are. But that's not who we are. We're free. We're supposed to be evolving by nature. And if we're not evolving, we're rusting. We're rusting and molding and dying. Trapped by the boulders of our egos, by the boulders of our self-identities. And I don't want to be the little me hiding under the bed where I feel safe and secure. Because we know instinctively that that's just not right. So if we're going to live the lives we came here to live, we have to get outside of our self-identities, outside of our self-identities. Here's a good example. In each of our days, there's 24 hours. We do all sorts of things for 16 hours. We work, we drive, we go play golf, we visit friends. We do all kinds of things during those 16 hours. If in those 16 hours we can stay outside of our comfort zone, if we can have a new experience, and when we're talking to somebody, not pretend I already know this person, shut up and listen and let them talk and try to see if you can discover that new depth in them. If I can do that, if you can do that, then we'll see a new reality. And at the end of the 16 hours, we sleep for 8 hours. We can see that as a metaphor for life. We can actually explore our greater realities outside of our boxes for 16 hours. That's 2/3 of the day. It's 2/3 of our life. And then we can relax inside our identity boxes for 8 hours a day. That's 1/3 of the day. And the beautiful thing is that those identity boxes will be expanding. Your self-identity will be expanding. You'll become more than you ever thought you could be. Who you think you are right now is not who you'll think you'll be in 1 year from now if you'll follow these directions, if you live outside of that box. You won't even be the same person next week. And the beautiful thing that will happen is it will all become delighted with that 1/3 because it will be more and more exciting, and it'll be brand new, constantly expanding. The problem with becoming comfortable with being in the box, the identity box. G. Brian Benson, award-winning author and inspirational speaker, said, "Once I began to realize that there were no rules and that my path didn't have to look like everyone else's, I relaxed and my whole world opened up." So one of the best ways that we can start getting outside of our identity boxes, and I'm saying to live the full life, not the partial life that we've been living, because I don't care how expansive your life has been, it's still not finished. it's still not all it came here to be. And the way we can get outside of those identity boxes and start being kids again, kids are learning to taste, learning to touch, learning to feel, to sing, to run, to play, to dance. One of the ways that we can get back to being little kids like that is to have new experiences, new experiences. Not have an experience and say, well, I did this before. No, I never did this before. I'm doing it new this time. Make a new friend. Learn a musical instrument. Do something that's not familiar. Walk through a new neighborhood. Maybe these things are going to seem awkward at first because we're no longer on that same old treadmill that made every day the same. I go to the gym 3 times a week, and part of what I did at the gym is I get on that treadmill and I walk a half a mile or 2 miles or whatever, and I never leave the room. I never even leave the spot I'm in. I feel like I'm moving, but I'm not moving. And of course, that's good for me because I build muscles and I get my cardiovascular system and my uh, other systems all in place, and they're working better. So it's good for me. But the truth of it is that we have those treadmills in our minds, and we just keep going over and over and over the same thing. We think 95% of the thoughts we have yesterday are the same thoughts we have today and are the same thoughts we'll have tomorrow. 95%, 95%. Can we afford that? If I still have a heart that's beating and lungs that are taking in oxygen, if I still have a body that's functioning, I'm supposed to be growing in wisdom and joy. I'm not supposed to be thinking the same thoughts, doing the same thing, having the same experiences. Mary and I had a friend back in Missouri, and his wife said, well, I want you to go with me. We're going to go out to the coast. And he said, why should I go? And she said, when we go through the Rocky Mountains, she said, there's just gorgeous mountains. And he said, I've seen mountains. And if you've seen one mountain, you've seen them all. I still shudder when I think of him saying that. And you and I do the same thing. Maybe not in mountains, but when we eat something, we don't taste it anew. I say, oh, I'm eating oatmeal. And, I've had oatmeal a million times. I know what this tastes like. No, you don't know what it tastes like because you've never eaten this oatmeal at this time. So we have to be willing to let something be new because otherwise those old identities keep us small. And when we challenge them, their walls dissolve. I promise you that you are free. I promise you, you are free. So please don't wait until it feels okay to take a risk because it's never going to feel okay. It's never going to feel okay. Let's risk leaving our safe little nests now and feel the freedom of flying. See that little sparrow up there in his nest, peeking his little head over? Peep, 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 looking around. One day, he'll find he has wings, and he'll raise his wings. And one day, he'll soar out of that nest, and he'll be free. What you and I do is we keep building nests, keep building comfort zones, keep building identity boxes. I don't know who I am. You don't know who you are. I know you have a name. I know you have a gender. You probably have a religion or maybe a non-religion. You may have a political party or a non-political party. You may have a group that you belong to, or you come from a certain family, or you have a certain inherited genetic thing. You're Negro or South African or Hindu or American Indian or Caucasian or but that's not who you are. That's not who you are. It's not who I am. We need to find out who we are. And the only way we can do that is by having new experiences, new, fresh experiences. And then what happens will be wonderful. Our physical, neural pathways, and our nervous systems will actually evolve and grow. Our neural pathways and our nervous systems, that means that all the neural pathways in our brain begin to expand and we become more conscious, more aware. We see, we see colors we never saw before. We hear things in music we never heard before. We feel feelings we never felt before. We experience bliss. We experience ecstasy in ways we never experienced it before. And I know a lot of us are older, and we think, well, at my age, I pretty much have done it all. No, you haven't, because you're still on the planet. This universe isn't operating higgly-piggly and making mistakes and can't get caught up. This universe is operating on a very strict system. And part of that system says that as long as you're still here in your body, you still have work to do. You're still expanding. You're still growing. And that evolution that you and I are doing, what's the purpose of that? What's the purpose in me growing in wisdom and joy? You and I are incarnations of consciousness. And as that, we carry all of consciousness in us. All, not some, all of consciousness in us. And as we expand consciousness. That tree over there, it's expanding in wisdom and in joy. And as it expands, it's expanding consciousness. That earthworm is expanding in wisdom and consciousness, and it's also expanding consciousness. Every living thing is expanding consciousness. And you and I are the thinkers. We are the deliberators. We are those that have a cognitive ability to change reality around us. When we put ourselves to work, consciousness really changes. We don't need to know all the details before we go forward. We'll just learn as we go along, and we'll be safe. The divine universe has our backs. Another wilderness adventurer, Christopher McCandless, tells us that the basic core of a man's being, a woman's being, very, very basic core of a man's or a woman's living spirit is their passion for adventure. That's you, isn't it? That's me. Basic core of our living spirit is our passion for adventure. The joy of life comes from our encounters with new experiences. And hence, there's no greater joy than to have an endlessly changing horizon, for each day to have a new and different sun. Now, this sort of sounds like what I was talking about before with that gentleman who had his arm caught under a rock, doesn't it? Sounds like his quote, doesn't it? Because they're both wilderness adventures. They both get outside of their houses, outside of their identities, and they go out and challenge themselves in the world. That's called adventure. Howard Thurman was an author, an educator, and a civil rights leader. Powerful Black man. Really have such admiration for him. And he reminds us to don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. And then go do that. Because what the world needs are more people who have come alive. I'm alive. You're alive. Let's come more alive. Let's reach outside of our identities. I am Bob Trask. I am a man. I am not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm a middle-of-the-road radical. I'm ex-religious. I'm not religious. I am 87 years old. I could give you all of these. I could just go down the line with all of these tags. None of them are who I am. I'm a child of the universe. No less than the trees and the stars, I have a right to be here. And I am opening constantly now to new adventures with you, new adventures with you. Let's do it together. Stop by my website, bobtrask.com, and leave a donation and maybe leave a suggestion. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you. Please join me again next week when we'll once again, launch into a new way of becoming excellent in the world. See you then.